I didn't go to Antarctica looking for monsters. None of us did. My name's Dr. Mark Caldwell. I'm a paleobiologist with a thing for prehistoric fossils. Real ancient stuff. Usually my job means sorting through dust and bones. But this was different. I got a call from a scientist named Malcolm Ryland. Said they'd found something under the ice. Something old. He didn't say much, but the tone in his voice told me everything. He wasn't just curious. He was ecstatic. And that made me nervous. A few days later, I was flying into a frozen nightmare. The helicopter blades whipped the air as we came down over Braxton Station, a remote outpost shared by American and Norwegian scientists. The base was modern enough, but the faces waiting for me, they looked hollow, like they'd already seen too much. Ryland greeted me at the pad with his assistant Nolan, who looked like he hadn't slept in days. They led me straight out into the snowstorm, toward a deep crack in the ice where the ground had given way. Down inside was something I never should have seen. A ship. Alien. Its metal surface was ancient, half fused with the ice. Whatever crashed there had been buried for thousands of years. But that wasn't the worst part. They pulled something out of the wreck. A body. It didn't look like anything that should exist. Too many limbs. Its shape was all wrong, like it had tried to be human but got the blueprints twisted. Frozen solid in a block of ice, its face twisted into a snarl. I told Ryland to leave it alone, but it was already back at the station. That night, most of the crew drank and pretended everything was normal. I sat alone, watching the ice block sweat. Nolan was the first to notice it moved. The alarms went off. The ice was shattered. The thing was gone. Two of the guys, Henrik and Olaf, tracked it to the generator shed. What they found should have never existed. It attacked Henrik first. Started pulling him inside itself like he was made of putty. We lit it up with flamethrowers. It burned, but it still twitched. Hours later, the sled dog was found torn open. Its kennel looked like a crime scene. That's when me and Nolan opened Henrik's remains. Under the microscope, his cells weren't dead. They were changing, copying, becoming. I looked at Nolan and whispered, "It could be any of us." We had to call for help. We loaded a helicopter with 4 guys. Nolan, Carter, Briggs, and Olaf. They were supposed to get out and bring help back. But something stopped me. In the showers, I found a pool of blood. And next to it, a handful of bloody metal fillings. The thing couldn't copy metal. It spit it out. I ran outside. Screamed for them to stop. Carter saw me. He hesitated. That hesitation saved lives. Because Briggs wasn't Briggs anymore. His skin split open. His jaw stretched wider than any human jaw should. He lunged at Olaf. The chopper spun into the air and vanished into the storm. Back at the base, everything fell apart. People stopped trusting each other. I told them about the fillings. Some believed me, others didn't. Julieta came to me. Said she saw Colin leaving the showers looking strange. She said she knew where the keys were, and we could stop anyone else from getting out. We got to the storage room. She shut the door, turned. She wasn't Julieta anymore. Her face opened up like a blooming flower of teeth. Carl came in, tried to help. He died instantly. Lars burst in with a flamethrower and burned her down. We dragged the thing outside and watched it burn. Later, Carter and Nolan came stumbling back. Frozen, exhausted. I begged everyone not to burn them, to wait, to test. But someone had torched the lab. So I improvised. I checked everyone's teeth. The ones without fillings? Colin, Ryland, Nolan, Edvin. Then Lars disappeared. Jonas came back alone. Said he was gone. That's when Carter and Nolan kicked in the door, flamethrower ready. They weren't infected, just scared. But Edvin snapped. Told Petter to burn them. Petter hesitated. Nolan pulled the trigger first. The bullet hit a fuel line. Fire exploded across the room. Edvin collapsed. Then he changed. Edvin's body convulsed, twisted. Bones snapped. Flesh warped. Tentacles shot out of his chest. He pulled Jonas in like a vacuum. Derek tried to run. The thing got him too. Nolan screamed as the thing absorbed him. Ryland and Colin bolted. Everyone else was gone. Me and Carter chased after them. One of the snowcats was gone. The ship in the ice had lights again. It was coming alive. Inside, the ship felt aware. Its walls pulsed. Its lights flickered like a heartbeat. I moved through the hallways, alone, until I found it. It wore their faces. Edvin, Jonas, Nolan, all twisted together into a towering mass of flesh and mouths. It came at me. I pulled the pin on a grenade. Go back to hell. Fire swallowed the corridor. Outside, Carter was waiting. But something didn't feel right. His earring was missing. Which ear was it in? I asked. He pointed to the wrong side. I hit the flamethrower. He screamed, but it wasn't a man's scream. When it was over, I climbed into the snowcat alone. The wind screamed outside. The sun never rose, just the same frozen dark. Morning came. A helicopter landed. New pilot, Matthias. The base was a graveyard. Lars stepped out of the wreckage, covered in soot, gun raised. Open your mouth, he ordered. Matthias did. Fillings. Human. Then the dog ran past them. The same dog. Still alive. Still the thing. Lars didn't wait. Get us in the air. The chopper roared overhead, kicking up sheets of snow and shards of ice. Below us, that damn dog stopped in the clearing like it was waiting. No panic. No erratic behavior. Just stillness. It looked up at us, calm and unblinking, like it expected us. Like it knew we'd follow. Lars had the rifle aimed through the side window. His finger was dancing on the trigger guard, teeth clenched. I don't like this, he muttered. Wait, I said. Do you see that? I leaned out the side door, the cold slicing across my face. There, hanging from the dog's collar, a metallic glint. I focused, heart pounding. It's wearing a tag. Lars frowned. The hell are you talking about? I motioned to Matthias, sat us down. No way I'm landing next to that thing, Matthias said through the headset. Then hover. 30 seconds. I'll go. You're insane. But the chopper dipped low anyway. I gripped the side ladder, boots dangling, wind roaring past my ears. Lars cursed behind me. You better know what you're doing. I don't, I said. That's kind of the point. I dropped. The impact jarred my knees. Snow crunched beneath me. The dog stood maybe 15 feet away. It didn't move, just watched. My hands trembled, but I approached slowly, one step at a time. The wind howled overhead, but everything else was silent. No growl, no posture, just stillness. The tag jingled when it shifted its head. I knelt, held out my gloved hand. The dog sniffed once, then stepped forward. Not cautious, not hesitant, like it knew me. I reached under its chin, fingers brushing the tag. Braxton Station. Serial. 9046A. Issue date. The 3rd of January last year. Status. Cleared. I stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "You're real." The dog gave a quiet woof, breath curling into the cold. It sat beside me, tail tucked tight, eyes scanning the skies, like it had just finished running, like it had escaped something worse. Lars dropped beside me seconds later, flamethrower ready. He didn't lower it. I held up the tag. It's legit. Registered. This dog's from our base. Unless the thing made the tag too. Lars said through gritted teeth. No way. It doesn't do metal. You said it yourself. Remember the fillings? He didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the dog. Long and hard. Then finally, slowly, lowered the barrel. We lifted the dog into the chopper. It didn't resist. It curled up like it knew exactly where it was going. The front door to the bay hung loose on its hinges. It screeched when we pushed through. Inside, the air was still, but not empty. It was wrong. The silence wasn't just silence. It was the kind that wraps around your ribs and squeezes, the kind you hear inside your ears. The hallway ahead was scorched, the walls warped with heat. Boots melted into the floor. I saw what was left of Colin's bunk room, a skeleton in a pile of soot, still clutching a radio. No jaw. Just teeth in the snow like spilled dice. Matthias trailed behind us. The dog stayed at my side. Then, from the rec room, a sound. Movement. Lars raised his flamethrower, eyes sharp. I stepped forward, heart in my throat. Something shifted in the darkness. A shadow. A voice. Hello? Feminine. Weak. Familiar. Too familiar. Lars whispered. No one made it out. You know that. I nodded. We inched closer. A figure slumped against the far wall. Bloody parka. Pale hands. Hair matted to her face. Juliet? I breathed. She looked up slowly. Please, help me. I took a step. Lars didn't move. Wait, he said. She burned. I burned her myself. I looked back. I know. The figure stood and smiled. Not Juliet's smile. Something wider. Too many teeth. Flesh split as she opened her mouth, jaw unhinging, hands twisted into claws. Lars lit her up. The scream shook the walls. Matthias shouted from behind us. I turned and saw two more, rising from the hallway. Vague silhouettes in old uniforms, but their eyes were dead. Not hollow, just copied. We burned them all, room by room. Every shadow, every echo. We didn't stop until the tanks ran low and the smell of cooked muscle clung to the ceiling like fog. When we were done, Lars dropped to the floor. I think that's all of them. I didn't answer, because I knew better. We sealed the base after the last scream died. 3 bodies, burned beyond recognition. 1 unburned Colin, his wrists cut open. A frozen radio message etched in static beside him. I didn't want to know what he tried to say. Matthias sat in the comms room, fixing what he could. He didn't say much. Neither did Lars. The flamethrowers were empty. The silence returned. The dog, the real one, hadn't moved since we entered. It curled in the corner of the med bay, eyes closed, chest rising slowly. I didn't blame it. We all needed to shut down. I found myself in the dorms, in my old bunk. Everything smelled like ash and ammonia. I sat on the edge of the mattress, boots still on. Couldn't even bring myself to lie down. Lars leaned against the doorframe. You think it's over? I asked. He didn't answer right away. I think this place never had a chance. He stepped into the room, crossed his arms. I torched Julietta twice. You saw what came back. This thing, it doesn't just copy bodies. It remembers every cell, every face, every sound. It knows how we breathe, how we talk. He rubbed his eyes. It's not just learning anymore. It's evolving. I looked down at my hands. Then why are we still alive? Lars chuckled darkly. That's the question, isn't it? The rescue chopper came at dawn. Or what passes for dawn this far south, a dim blush on the horizon, barely separating sky from ice. We stood out front as it landed. 3 figures stepped out, geared in black and orange, medical insignia, military patches. I didn't move. One of them called out. We're here to extract survivors. Lars stepped forward. That's us. Anyone else? Number. He looked back at me. I nodded. That was true. Matthias carried the dog onto the snowcat wrapped in an old blanket. He handed it off gently to one of the crew. "She's been through a lot," he said. The woman smiled and scratched the dog behind the ears. "She's safe now." I didn't believe her. They loaded us in, checked us for injuries, asked a few soft questions. We gave soft answers. One of them offered me water. I stared at it for too long before drinking. Matthias sat across from me. Clean uniform, steady hands. I noticed something I hadn't before. His jacket had a patch. Not a pilot's badge. A science division logo. I frowned. "You said you were just flying supply." He smiled. "I did." "Was that true?" He tilted his head. "Does it matter now?" I didn't answer. Because it did. But I didn't know why yet. The new base, a temporary staging outpost, was warm. Too warm. Lights hummed overhead. Technicians moved past us without looking. Everything smelled like bleach and plastic. I sat in the debriefing tent for 2 hours while a man with perfect posture asked me questions with imperfect intent. I gave him what he wanted. Not the truth. Just enough. When I finally walked outside, Lars was on the steps, smoking. "I don't trust them," he said, exhaling slow. I sat beside him. "They're just here to clean up." "That's the problem. Who cleans up a shapeshifter?" We sat in silence. Then he looked up. Across the yard, one of the rescue crew stood by the dog kennel, scratching the real dog's head, talking to it. The man turned, and Lars went pale. "What?" I asked. "That guy," he said. "That's the survivor." I stood. "What survivor?" "The one from 2 years ago. From the original crash. He had an eyebrow piercing back then. I remember. He kept messing with it when he was nervous." I squinted. The man laughed at something, said something to the dog. There was no piercing, no scar, nothing. "Maybe he took it out," I said. Lars shook his head. That guy? He never would have. We didn't sleep that night. We lay in cots, staring at the ceiling. I kept replaying it in my head. The timeline, the faces, the voices, the small inconsistencies. Too many tiny things that didn't line up. The wrong patch on Matthias's jacket. The way Juliet said, "please," before she attacked. The fact that the thing could mimic everything except metal, unless it had found a way. Lars whispered into the dark. What if it learned to digest fillings? I didn't answer. He kept going. What if it figured out how to fake heat signatures? Saliva? X-rays? He paused. What if it doesn't need to run anymore? I sat up. There were footsteps outside. Not rushed, just pacing. One pair, then two, then silence. I crawled out of bed and peeked through the flap. The man with no piercing was standing outside the dog kennel, staring, not moving, not blinking. Lars disappeared the next day. No goodbye. No word. The guards said they never saw him leave. The man with no piercing said maybe he just wanted to go home. But I knew better. I didn't eat after that. Didn't sleep much either. They ran tests, gave me pills, told me I was dehydrated, that my cortisol levels were too high. I told them I wanted to leave. They said I had to stay for observation. When I finally did get out 3 weeks later, I was put on a helicopter alone. Matthias was the pilot again. He smiled at me when I boarded. Ready to go home? I sat down. Didn't speak. The door shut behind me. The blades roared to life. And as we lifted off, I looked at the tag still in my pocket. Braxton Station. I looked at Matthias. He hummed a tune softly. Something old. Something I didn't recognize. Then he said almost to himself, I've always liked the cold. I didn't answer. I just stared out the window, watching the ice stretch forever. I'm back in the States now. Clean sheets, warm water, friendly doctors. They say it's PTSD. That, I imagined half of it. They ask about Lars, about the dog, about the survivor with no name. I tell them I don't remember, but every night, I dream of faces. Faces that aren't mine. A face that used to be mine. And sometimes, I swear I feel the heat of a flamethrower against my back. But the real terror isn't that it's still out there. It's that it might not be. That it's here, somewhere nearby, wearing someone else's smile, waiting, watching, and learning.